Welcome to the Overcoming Stigma and Creating Community module. This is the fourth module in the series designed by a team from the UC Davis Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities, also known as the CED, and community partners and parents, specifically to support the individual needs of African American families of children with developmental disabilities in the state of California. In this module, you will meet several community members and listen to their stories of how disability has impacted their lives and the kinds of challenges that they overcame to create supportive and nurturing networks. Like I stated in the previous modules, parenting is hard, but in our world where discrimination and bias against people of color and people with disabilities is common, being a parent of an African American child with disabilities can feel even more challenging. In this module, we will listen to family members and professionals discuss their experience of overcoming these challenges and give ideas on how they were able to foster supportive networks for them and their children. Before I begin, I must stress the fact that there is a tremendous amount of diversity within the African American community, and that these experiences and opinions are just of the individuals and not to represent the collective thoughts of one cultural group. However, there are common themes that have surfaced when we talk to families and providers, such as how to address stigma and how to create a nurturing environment that research does affirm can be barriers for some African American families after they receive a diagnosis for their child. The definition of stigma is a disgrace associated with a particular circumstance, quality, or person. Unfortunately, in our society, many times having a disability or even having a child with a disability still has a stigma associated with it. Due to myths and bad information, many families can feel shame and guilt around their children having a disability because somehow they think their actions or choices might have brought the disability on their child. Of course, there are some situations that disability is associated with life choices from parents, but most developmental disabilities have more to do with genetic and environmental circumstances that are entirely outside of the parent's control. The main voice you will hear from in this module comes from Callie. I will let Callie introduce herself.
My name's Callie O'Roy. I'm a 63-year-old mother of 5. I'm 27 grandkids, 8 great-grandkids, 27 and 8 great-grandkids. My kids are amazing parents. Their ages range from 42 to 47. I have grandkids that are 4 that are returning to college, 3 that are new in college, 2 that graduated with their masters. We're ramping up right now and gearing up for them to head off to college again. So it's very emotional right now for us. One's gonna be gone as far as Iowa. So it's just, we're in the preparation stage, but we get through it with love and prayer, and we do it together.
One of Callie's 27 grandchildren is 19-year-old Camden, who is a second-year college student with autism. Listen to Callie discuss how she has experienced stigma of disability in her family and how she thinks that stigma has kept many African American children from getting the services they need.
I think it's a stigma. I think it is one of those situations where they have the old school mentality. What happens in this house stays in this house. Let's sweep it under the rug. Let's put it in the closet with the rest of the skeletons. The resources are there, but they're embarrassed or ashamed or afraid or whatever the case may be to tap into it. Truth be told, since Camden has been diagnosed and has been speaking and being positive in the community, I've come to realize that there are 3 other people. I have 3 nieces and nephews that are autistic as well. So I can't help but wonder that if maybe your child is not the first, your child may not be the only one. There may have been an uncle, a great aunt, somebody else that had it. But they were kept inside. It was a secret and no one needed to know. So nothing happened to better their lives. And to me, it's ignorance to a certain degree. It's because you refuse to see it. You don't want to see it. You don't want to know it.
So, Callie, can you give some advice to a family that might be experiencing the weight of stigma right now? And really, many of them might have been told that their children are acting a certain way or they're acting bad. And I would love for you to be able to speak a little bit more about what are your strategies for discipline and what would you tell them about discipline?
Educate yourself. You don't know what you don't know. If you think there's something going on, ask. It is on a need to know basis in some cases, but if you don't ask, you don't know. You don't know what's going on in my house. You don't know how my child is raised. You don't know anything about that. You have no idea. There are a lot of kids on the autism spectrum that are very strong-willed. They're violent to a certain degree, and these parents have a hard time. Some of them act out. Has nothing to do with what the parent is doing or not doing. I have a coworker right now that has 2 kids. Both of them are on the spectrum. And it's tiring, to say the least, but no, they don't need to be disciplined anymore. They just need to be understood, and you need to understand how to work with them.
So, Callie, can you tell us a little bit more about your family story and how your family handled the news of your grandson having a developmental disability?
Hearing it, I know for Dewana was really hard to actually get a definite diagnosis. Initially, we knew Camden was different. Camden was very quiet, didn't cry much at all, very loving, caring. He always seemed to be listening. He always seemed to be, he was taking it all in. By 2 years old, I was kind of baffled because I would sit on my computer and he'd sit on my lap, he'd sit there with me, and he liked cars. So we'd look up cars and trucks, and that was just his thing. And I left one day and I came back and Cam was at my computer and my printer was going and there was cars being printed out. And I asked, did you do this? I asked Dewana, did you do this? She said no. So I'm thinking, okay, so now Camden can print out cars. I think a lot of the symptoms were early on that we didn't realize at that time were actual symptoms associated with autism. Certain noises, when the garbage truck came, he would run to the door. The vacuum cleaner, he liked the vacuum cleaner sound. If you opened the dryer, he had to close it. And if he didn't close it, that was a tantrum, he'd fall out. So there were certain things that he would do. But Camden was also very advanced. He knew all of his colors. He knew all of the leaves. He knew every shape there was. And he could identify a car before you could. So we knew that there was something going on, and we knew that we thought ADHD, we thought it was attention deficit disorder or something to that effect. And we also noticed that Camden never played he played near other kids, but he never played with other kids. And it always seemed like he was trying to analyze things. He would be laying on the floor, his cars were on the floor, and he's trying to look underneath these little cars he have down there, like he's rolling them and trying to see how they actually roll. So we knew something was different about Camden. But when we got the diagnosis, it was just, once we did the research and realized that it did affect his social cues and things like that, it was really, Dewana was really, and to me, that's my baby. So when my baby's hurt, I'm hurt. So it was a process that we went through together.
That is a truly beautiful story. Callie, now that your grandson is a young man and your family has gone through the years of securing the right services for him to thrive and be the person he is today, can you think of how he has been a life teacher for you?
We think, as adults, we think we know everything. We think we know it all. We think our way is the only way. But when you talk to someone like Camden, their thought process is a little bit different from yours, which causes you to question what you originally thought in the first place. It's really different. It's really just watching him grow, watching him develop, watching the questions that he has and giving him my response and then getting a take on how he feels about that. It's like, oh, wait a minute. So there's certain things that I say, and he would correct me, Grandma, that's not appropriate. You shouldn't be saying that. Look at this kid like, what? What? You're telling me I shouldn't be saying that? But then I thought about it, and he was right. I shouldn't have been saying that. It wasn't the right thing to say. But to hear that from him, it gave me a different perspective. But he also taught me how to see things a little bit easier. A little bit easier. Cameron he doesn't stress. And if he does, you don't know it. You don't see it. You don't see it. He's just really this laid back. He has an extrovert personality, and he's uninhibited. If he wants to dance, he's gonna dance. If you don't like the music, that's too bad. He's gonna dance.
Callie, I want to know if you have any words of advice for families that are just getting a diagnosis.
I would tell them that the diagnosis was the easy part. Now the journey begins. There'll be good days, there'll be bad days, but the end result is contingent upon how you respond to it, how you deal with it. So just strap yourself in. You're in for a great ride, a great ride. But to me, in the end, you will come out empowered and more knowledgeable and be able to help someone else navigate that same situation.
Let's get a few more experiences on the subject of stigma of disability. Listen to Lisa Cooley discuss how stigma of disability has affected her in her life, and also hear her message that she wants to have African American families know on how to support their child with a disability. So Lisa, have you ever felt like people treated you poorly due to your disability, and how did you handle that?
Rude people or staring or maybe insensitive comments or something I've dealt with all of my life, and you can either let things get to you most of the time or let them go, and depending on the situation or the environment, I usually do one of those two things.
So Lisa, what would you like to make sure that any family member that is watching this right now knows about their child with a developmental disability?
The most important thing to know about disability is that disability is only part of who someone is. It's not all of someone is. I like to occasionally say a quote that came off of a poster at Sacramento State University in Sacramento. There's more to me than what you see, which means my disability is only part of me. It's not all of me. It's not what makes me me. Like I've said before, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm a friend, I'm a neighbor.
Listen to the board-certified behavioral analyst, Jane Paul, discuss how she felt stigma of disability has kept some African American families from accepting a diagnosis or accessing treatment for their children. Jane, how have you seen stigma of a disability keep families from getting a diagnosis?
Stigma brings with it shame, embarrassment, isolation. All of a sudden you feel like once you have this child with this diagnosis, you feel like you don't belong in that community anymore. And that affects everything about you as a parent. So it does affect everything about, looking for services.
Jane, can you tell a story of a family that you worked with in the past that had a child with a developmental disability and got the diagnosis but wasn't ready to make the necessary changes to become an intervention partner?
I had a parent that I can, vividly remember. And this parent was, she did not really accept the diagnosis, and she was not ready to participate in program. And that is the family that we had to meet where she was. so that we can start a journey that was going to change her life and the life of the rest of her family. And that particular mom actually said, you know what, you are the professional, you do your job. I am with this child 24 hours. These 3 hours that you're here, that's my me time. So I don't want to know what you're doing. You do your job. Let me know when you're done. I'll sign the papers. And I say, you know what? That would be really good, but it will not work. Because what happens, if you do not know what we are doing, you will not do anything afterwards. The behaviors that you're dealing with in the home, if you do not know how we are actually working to make sure that they don't happen after we leave, you are going to do the same old things that you have been doing. And guess what? You'll always have services in the home. And I always tell them, my job is to make you fire me from my job in your family.
We will now discuss strategies that others have used to create nurturing environments for them and their children, which have allowed for them to feel empowered and help their child thrive. Listen to my husband, Jerome's account on how our family created our own community to help our son Eli.
When you first say that, I think the proverb, it's not a cliche, but it certainly takes a village to raise a child. And I think that coming together as a family is very important. The synergy of working together to see each other's blind spots in the process of raising our child, and knowing that it's going to take everyone's hands to be, on deck to be able to help out. And everybody may not share the same strengths, but I think when you find your strength in the process, being able to just do your part. Like I said, my wife is she's the lead when it comes to that, and she has the information. I consider myself to be more the heavy. I'll carry whatever she needs me to carry. I'll drive wherever I need to go to. I would do my part, and that's what I'm good at. So I think when people begin to find their spaces, being able to work your spot as best as possible, and then those areas where you don't, you're not able to do well, that's where you reach out to others and you try to find resources.
Let's hear from Callie again as she speaks on the subject of creating a supportive community. So Callie, what would you tell parents who feel isolated or do not feel like they have people in their lives that they can rely on for support and encouragement?
The internet has a lot of information. Find a group, find someone else with a child with the same disability that your child has. Utilize those resources. Strengthen your knowledge. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to your kids. Find out what resources are out there. You need to, diary your feelings, diary what's being said to you, how you feel at that moment in time when you have that information, and work from that. But you have to draw strength from the resources that you have. Maybe a strong aunt, a strong uncle. Get some advice from somebody who may know a little bit more than you, but don't take what people are telling you at face value. You gotta choose your village. They don't necessarily have to be family. It could be another parent with a child with a developmental disability, someone that you trust, someone that can act in your stead, act in your absence, somebody who's willing to go forward and speak in your child's behalf. Someone that'll give you that time, that knows how to, what it takes for your child to be successful, someone that knows how to cope with your child on a consistent basis in case something happens and you can't be right there. You need to build that. And that's not easy. It's not easy. That's a hard task within itself. Whether it be a teacher, an administrator, a neighbor, just someone close nearby. We had people in the classroom, people at school. They used to tease me and said, hey, we ought to just put a trailer in the parking lot for you. I said, yeah, that might be a good idea, because if it's something going on with one of my kids, I'm gonna be here. So it's that kind of a situation, but you have to build your village. You have to utilize the resources. The group like Sankofa that we have here is a great place to build those resources, to help you identify those people, those resources. As an advocate, you have to live your life unapologetically. Do not apologize for yourself. Do not apologize for your kid, your child being disabled. Do not apologize. You are the voice. You are it. You have rights, and so does your child. Know your rights, know your child's rights, and go there fully armed and ready to do battle with whatever devil there is in there. Be ready. Be ready. You're it. You're it. Until they can speak for themselves, you've got to do that. That's your job. That is your responsibility as a parent. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise or try to take that right from you.
We hope that you have enjoyed this series and have found information that will help you take the next steps to accessing and securing the right services and supports for your child and family. The ultimate goal of these modules are to give families information that will allow them to gain the power and agency over their child's treatment plan. I will say it for the last time. I know that this is a lot of information and it can be overwhelming, but truly know that so many of us have traveled a similar road and we are here to support you. Remember, you are not alone, and that in time you will gain what you need to be able to support your child the best you can. Remember, you got this.